Alrighty, y'all. Today we are getting into curved objects, and so this one's actually not too intimidating. It might look like it from this example, but it's pretty simple. And so we're going to be starting with a 2, 1, 2 by 3 by 2, just a standard setup. I'm not going to go over it since we've done things very similar to this for the last couple projects, and so I don't feel the need to go over it again. And so what we're going to be doing here is using our orthographic to design a curved shape. I might even swap back just to this right here. Right, we have the orthographics, top right, orthographics. And so setting this page up anyways. This is going to be our standard 2-panel setup. No complaints there. So what we're going to do, I have my object already made here, right? Orthographics fully drawn right down there. And so to start off here, I recommend normally starting with the base of the object as well as this center line. I made this center plane I marked in blue because it's going to be very useful for us going forward. And so initially, I'm actually just going to translate this top sky view to the bottom of my object. But to actually end up doing that, there is a technique which is on the Google page right here. Right, so this is from the Scott Robertson How to Draw book. And this technique is really just, I'll break it down for us here, which is if you have two bounds and the center line, pretend that these are, these are equal distant, and you have dots that you want to replicate across this almost line of symmetry. Pretend this is like a line of symmetry. This is a dotted line, and I want to get these dots over across that line to make a perfectly in perspective shape. What I can do is I can go from, I'm going to try to replicate this front dot over here. And so how you can do that is you come in with a line from the center that intersects with the dot, and then also just ends up intersecting with this edge. And so with that, we can simply draw following the vanishing point, which will establish a cross until it hits the edge on the other side, form a triangle, and now we can draw another line, boom, from where the actual, right where this actual dot is, and get a dot. And so this dot is now reflected across our line of symmetry in the middle. And so I think that it becomes pretty obvious why we'll do that. And so I'm going to go over, I'll really just do a time lapse, a slow time lapse, maybe at 3 times speed, and talk over the actual knowledge that I'm going to do. So as I get started here, I'm just throwing in some X's to, I have this box in the back, and so I'm throwing in some X's to find the middle lines of those. To better establish the base of that box and have it be 1 unit in size. But now the real part comes in where I'm trying to get this parabola shape, and so I start with this bottom edge and get a really nice curve because I'm going to duplicate this curve over the line in the middle, right, over this line of symmetry. And so to duplicate the curve, I'm going to give myself 3 points along it, and I'm going to try to duplicate those 3 points across. And using the technique that we just talked about, where I go from the outside, right, this bottom edge of the plane, intersecting with the line to the line of the center, and then forming a bunch of triangles. As we see right here, you form a triangle, you go from your dot, you draw towards the vanishing point, you get a mark. You form a triangle, you go from your dot to the vanishing point, you get a mark. You draw a triangle. Yeah, draw that triangle. Nice. Then you go from your dot towards the vanishing point, where it intersects with the triangle, you get a mark. And now I have these 3 replicated marks that are in the same position, and so I have a really good basis for making this curve and having it be perfectly symmetrical and in perspective. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that base, right? It's maybe not, a perfect 1-for-1 with our reference, but that's okay. I don't look at your orthographics that long, if I'm being totally honest with you. I care what the final product looks like. So this is what we got. And now I'm going to start with the middle line, right? I kind of alluded to it earlier. This middle plane is going to be a big deal because this middle plane is going to be our side view, right? This exact shape from our side view, we're going to translate onto this blue middle plane. And then I'm going to do very similar stuff that I did just right here, where I used these triangles. These triangles are going to come into play again in just a second. And so now we're going to move on to this blue center line, right? And so I'm establishing the primary curve that mimics our side profile drawing, right? It should be the side profile orthographic view. We're just replicating that right into the middle plane. So now it's red time. And so this is going to be a little bit different than the last one. We're going to be adding these kind of cross contours that add all the volumetric information of our object, right? We want to make this feel like a curved 3D object. And so we're going to drop in some planes and do the exact same thing that we did on the base, but we're going to do them with vertical curves. And so we're going to outline a plane. It doesn't quite matter where you make it, but anyways, outline a plane, get a curve that you like, right? A curve that you're satisfied with, find 3 dots along that curve, and then we're going to do the exact same technique as before, where we're duplicating it across using triangles and drawing towards the vanishing points. So after I get those 3 dots, I'm going to go and throw in that curve, right? And then if you notice, there's this little spot of negative space between the curve and the top, the center line. That is normally gonna happen, and so that's a sign that you did it correctly if there's that little sliver of negative space there. And so now we're gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it 2 more times, but what's special about this one is I'm only doing my plane with using the width and height of our object. And so if you notice, the actual plane that I'm establishing in blue here is smaller than the total width of our 2 blocks, right? This is maybe like 1.8 blocks wide because I'm using the width of the object and not the width of the 2 blocks. And as well as the height is a little bit shorter because it's following this center, right? The center cutout. So the frame is only going up to where it intersects there. And so now I'm drawing a little curve until I like it. I got one that I liked. I'm establishing my 3 dots, and I think you know the rest of the information, at least on this part. So just throwing in that information real quick with our triangles. I'm getting those dots reflected across the middle line. A beautiful thing. And then just laying in, that curve until I'm satisfied with it, right? Nope. Yeah, right there. Perfect. If you notice that negative space is a little bit bigger on this one, it's there was a sliver in the back and now it's a thicker sliver. That's because the object is starting to tilt down more, and so we're getting more of that front face being shown to us. So it checks out. And so this is the one where it's really coming into play, where you see how small this plane is, right? I'm using a cross section right at the near the front of the object where it's getting thinner and thinner, and so the plane in blue that I made there is thin. And then as well, that red line, which represents the height, which only goes up right until it connects with the center line contour. That's good information. So I'm just finishing up here with the triangles and the duplicating of the dots, and we're getting to the end. This is the assignment. We're making curves, duplicating curves. And then I'm just doing an outer contour line here to, encapsulate the whole object. Beautiful. Nice. I agree with that statement. What a horrible scribble of a thumbs up. But I'll let it slide. Computer guy. Anyways, I'm throwing in that box, just finishing up that initial box that we had in the back. In my orthographic, I had this angled cube attachment, And so I'm just making sure that, that I kind of calculate those lines, add those angles and show them off. And we're done there. This is it. As well as doing two of them. You got to do it here too. And that is all I have to say. Let me know if you guys have any questions. This hopefully shouldn't be too crazy hard. Once you understand the whole V thing of just have your bounds, have your line of symmetry, have the dots, or have the curve, have the dots you want.
Go across, make the triangle, go across again, you get your dot. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work.
Anyways, I will leave that to you guys. Best of luck.